Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Tonight we're going to be looking at Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse by Floyd Gottfredson, Volume 1, Race to Death Valley. This was published by Fantagraphics Books. It was the first in their series, I believe, 9 books that collected all of Floyd Gottfredson's Mickey Mouse comic strips. Once again, Fantagraphics does a beautiful job, a beautiful production, amazing back material, amazing research. It's a very hefty book, as you can see. This is a lot of stuff in here, and just really beautiful, this whole production. Oh, what's that? I got some schmutz on the book. So, let's crack it open. The end papers. And the first title page. I gotta say, after all this, I still love this logo. And I never realized how close Squeak the Mouse is to this. I guess he just copied it. And we get a little profile of Mickey. And second title page. Series editors, David Gerstein and Gary Groff. Here's the Indicia page. Even on the Indicia page, they give us a little bonus thing here. There's a publicity drawing by Floyd Gottfredson made in 1930. And this came out in 2011, this book. We start off with a little intro from David Gerstein. And very classically designed contents page. Now, this is interesting. I'm not going to go note by note, but it's so well researched. They tell us every single story arc, who wrote it, who drew it. So, for example, the very first story arc, Mickey Mouse in Death Valley, Walt Disney did like the first, 6 weeks. He wrote it. And then Floyd Gottfredson took over. They tell us the exact dates, so you can actually look it up and be like, oh, look, there's a little change there. The Walt Disney ones were penciled by Win Smith and a little Floyd Gottfredson, and then he took over as writer. And also Jack King. Inks by Win Smith, Floyd Gottfredson, Roy Nelson, and Hardy Gramatke. So these are all unsung heroes. But Floyd Gottfredson was a lot like John Stanley. Even if he was just writing, some of these he doesn't even pencil or ink. He just writes the story. It still feels like he's the auteur, you know? It still feels like a Gottfredson strip. But he has all these helpers, you know? I'm going to try to see if there's some other names. Earl Duvall, he's an inker later on. And Ted Thwaites. Al Taliaferro, who would go on to be a major cartoonist for Disney as the decades progressed. So just wanted to, for the sake of clarity, bring that up. We have this the introduction by Warren Spector, the master of Mickey epics. Not sure who this guy is. I think he wrote a book about Mickey Mouse, so I guess he's an expert. We get lots of fun art here from the various strips. Next we have a foreword by Thomas Andre of Mouse and Man, Floyd Gottfredson and the Mickey Mouse continuities. This is an interesting little political cartoon that Floyd Gottfredson did. And here's another publicity drawing he did. So these are all incredibly rare little pieces of art they found. It's really amazing, the stuff that they've dredged up. Here's one. This is like a comic strip he did when he was a young man. He might have been like a teenager at this point. It's local stuff. A bunch of gag panels, basically. This is from the Salt Lake City Telegram. We have another one of his early gag strips. This is from Contact, a humor magazine, I believe. They show these two cells of animation because the cartoons and the comics would borrow from each other. They'd borrow gags. Sometimes A gag would be Floyd Gottfredson would come up with a gag, and then they'd use it in a cartoon later, and vice versa. Floyd Gottfredson, The Mickey Strip, and Me. Appreciation by Floyd Norman. Floyd Norman went on to draw Mickey Mouse. This is kind of cool, getting to see one of his pencils. This is from like 95. And getting to see, I think this is an unused strip. Yeah, it was shelved. So it's kind of cool getting to see stuff like that. I'm not even a huge, Mickey Mouse fan. But if you are, this is a treasure trove of cool stuff. Here we go, Mickey Mouse in Death Valley, April 1st, 1930 to September 20th. Every story arc gets a nice little introduction, gives us a little context. And let's begin. So we have a little introductory strip, I guess, for the newspaper readers who are first reading this. This is interesting. Peg Leg Pete, a longtime Mickey Mouse villain, they didn't even have a name for him at first. It just says Terrible Tom, but that looks just like his face. So Mickey and Minnie are hanging out, their boyfriend, girlfriend, they're sweethearts. And this guy, Sylvester Shyster, the lawyer, comes up and he says, Minnie, I wanted to tell you the good news. You've been made the sole heir to the old Mortimer mansion. Come down to my office tomorrow and sign the papers. Clarabelle Cow comes up. She's the town gossip. Mickey Mouse actually has some really good one-liners. Like when I grew up, Mickey Mouse was just kind of insipid, just giggling all the time and a little goody two-shoes. But he's kind of a scrappy, funny little, kind of can be a jerk sometimes. So I like this. Clarabelle says, do you know singers run in my family? And Mickey says, you bet singers run in her family. If they didn't, they'd get shot. It's a pretty good one-liner. And then as she's leaving, he says, wow, she must have been vaccinated with a photograph needle because she doesn't shut up. I do notice the one-liners aren't as sharp. I think that's all Walt Disney because he wrote these first ones. Mickey has one-liners, but they're not nearly as funny. So as soon as they get down, I shouldn't mention, they say hi to Horsecollar Harry. I think his name's Horsecollar Harry, Harold. And so just to introduce him as a character. Mickey and Minnie live in this kind of bucolic rural setting, little small town farming community. They go down to the lawyer's office. Instantly, Sylvester's just like pushing Mickey out of the office. He doesn't want him in the office. And then he tries to bilk her. He says, that mansion's not worth anything, but I'll take it off your hands for a small sum. And then meanwhile, we see this shadowy cloaked figure, and he sticks a note right in Mickey's rump. And it says, warning, don't let Minnie sell the estate. The Fox. So Mickey's trying to get in the door, and he can't. And Minnie's about to sign this thing. And Mickey's trying to stop her, of course. So we have lots of zany antics and slapstick humor of him trying to get into the office. So Floyd Gottfredson is pretty much, his fame rests in the fact that he began the continuity strips of Mickey Mouse. For the first few months, Mickey Mouse was just gag a day. And then King Features said, hey, look at these strips like the Gumps. And Wash Tubs are having a lot of success by telling stories that just continue day to day. And so Floyd Gottfredson began that. But still within them, they're pretty much gag a day. It's more about telling a gag, but then slowly progressing the story. So it does have continuity. So Mickey finally gets into the office, conks out Sylvester, and rescues Minnie. But then later on, we see Sylvester talking to some thugs, and they're plotting something. So Mickey and Minnie go to their mansion, her mansion, and it's pretty run down. They get another letter from the Fox here, warning you are in danger. So it's interesting that the Fox, unlike the Phantom Blot, who would be a nemesis of Mickey for decades, he looks like scary and creepy, but he's actually there to help. He's a pal. So it's kind of weird how he looks so scary, but he's actually, all he does is help Mickey. So once again, just a lot of dopey gags. It's really interesting. So many of these, I guess people had a different sense of humor in the 30s, where so many gags are just someone falling. That'll be the punchline. Like, ha, that guy fell. I mean, they're not that funny. But I guess people have a different sense of humor. I really do like the shading technique when it's dark and there's a candlelight. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure we're not even into Floyd Gottfredson yet. This is still that Win Smith guy. It's hard to tell these guys apart, to be honest. Once Floyd Gottfredson starts drawing, it's not like, oh, wow, you can totally tell. You know, it's a pretty nice house style. But I gotta say, even though a lot of these aren't that funny, the cartooning in this, all the artists, mostly Floyd Gottfredson, I'm so enamored with this cartooning. And I should mention, the reason why I got this book is noted comic book scholar Archibald Gernsback. He told me about how he's been really grooving on these Floyd Gottfredson books he got. I was like, I never read those. I definitely heard of him. Floyd Gottfredson's one of the, great great cartoonists. I just never really read them. And the cartooning is just so perfect to me. It's just like something about it I just love. I mean, there's better artists out there for sure. But this cartooning is just so fun. I really like it. So, Sylvester Shyster's thugs, including Peg-Leg Pete. We finally meet Peg-Leg Pete. They're basically they come to the mansion, and they're trying to take out Mickey and force Minnie to sign. Once again, lots of goofy gags. It's interesting seeing a younger Mickey pull a gun on someone. We'll see a lot of gunplay in here, where it's just like Mickey would never shoot someone, 20 years after this. So there's this weird running gag here about Mickey's tied to a ball and chain. So many strips of him just like dealing with carrying this ball and chain. The bad guy's got Minnie tied up. He's trying to get to Minnie, but this ball and chain is, of course, hindering him. He does discover all this, like a mother load of cheese in the basement. He's like, as soon as I rescue Minnie, I'm coming back here and having a feast. So it's really odd. This just keeps going with him with the ball and chain, almost like some existential statement maybe Walt Disney was trying to make. And then, all of a sudden, it's gone. They don't tell us how he got out of the ball and chain finally. I guess they were just tired of that gag. So, of course, Mickey has a run-in with these bad guys. I just like some of these trips where they're in peril, or just someone says something goofy, and just Mickey and Minnie have such big smiles on their face. When I was reading this, I realized why I like these strips so much, why I find them so endearing, even though I probably couldn't explain it. Like, oh, you got to read these. It would be hard for me to tell someone they have to read these. But I forgot that when I was a little boy, I loved Mickey Mouse. Before, I remember stuff. Like when I was 3 or 4, I had a Mickey Mouse watch, I had a Mickey Mouse clock radio, Mickey Mouse bed sheets. I obviously loved Mickey Mouse. I think a lot of kids do in America, if you grew up in America, or actually the whole world. And so it has this preternatural effect on me, where even if Mickey's just doing something dumb and smiling, I'm just like, I like this guy. I want to read more about him. I love him. It was kind of interesting, though. I totally forgot about that. So they escape from the bad guys. But it's just temporary. The bad guys show up again. I'm sorry, before that, Mickey and Minnie go down to that basement and start eating the cheese. Minnie finds a map, a treasure map, within some of the cheese. And we do find out that Mickey's favorite cheese is Camembert, if maybe that might help you at a trivia night sometime. Right after they find the map, Peg-Leg Pete and Sylvester barge in and grab the map and lock them in this basement. Of course, Mickey escapes because he's very scrappy and clever. And they see Clarabelle Cow, they borrow her bicycle, and they chase after these bad guys who have run off with their map. This is, of course, an excuse to have lots of slapstick humor. Here's an example of these things that like aren't really a joke. So it's raining. Mickey says, "I'll find a shelter." And he comes up with this, I guess, a scarecrow, a weird scarecrow that happens to be tent-shaped. And he says, "Hey, look, I've got a shelter." And then they're singing in the rain. That's not even a joke. It's just, wow, Mickey, you found shelter. That's cute. So many are like that. Oh my God, just like, yeah, the fishing joke about, oh, someone goes fishing and all they get is an old tire or an old leather shoe. I guess that was funny to people in the 30s. And, growing up in the 70s, it was still funny to Henry, the guy who drew Henry. He was still having dumb gags like this in his comic, even that late. I really like these scenes where it's in the dark, the way he shades. Yeah, we're into the Floyd Gottfredson era now. So this just keeps going. They keep trying to catch up to these guys. Various modes of transport. Man, look how lively this is. The way that car is just off the road and this galloping horse. It almost looks like you're watching an animated cartoon. Just all the art in here is just very alive. It's very lively. So Mickey steals the map back from the bad guys when they stop to have some dinner. So now they're getting chased by the bad guys. There's some guys I don't even get. Like this cow was on the train tracks. And when the train hits him, the cow is just fine. And the train is demolished. They don't explain why. He's like a indestructible cow or something. Look at this amazing panel. I love this cuckoo, almost roller coaster train track. It's just really good stuff. I guess they do sometimes change off model. Because there is like a bunch of pencilers and inkers. They're bound to not get it perfectly, every time. It just keeps going and going. But really, it's an excuse to squeeze a gag in every day. I just love looking at it, though. Just really handsome cartooning. So they finally, using the treasure map, they finally get to the town where it's close to the mine. It's a gold mine, supposedly. Welcome to Poison Wells. It's right near Death Valley. So now we have this whole, kind of aside where for the next week or two, they have to get jobs because they need money to pay for, a pack mule and, mining supplies. So then we have all these gags about them working in a restaurant. Meanwhile, the villains are approaching. And they come to the restaurant. Mickey tries to disguise himself. He sneezes and the disguise falls off. So they start chasing him. And then this part is just really dumb. So the sheriff shows up. Pegleg Pete and Sylvester, they steal horses from in front of a bar. It says cafe, but it's a saloon. And so everyone says, kill those horse thieves. When they capture them, they're going to string them up. But then they say, you guys don't understand. This Mickey Mouse guy stole our treasure map. And so they're like, oh, okay. And now the posse's all on Sylvester's side. Just they take his word for it, even though they were about to string him up. Now they are hunting Mickey Mouse along with the two villains here. Meanwhile, Mickey and Minnie are oblivious. They're following the map. Some nice shots of the desert here. Ah, all looks so good to me. This goofy looking burro. He looks more like a moth or something. So the posse's hot on their trail. Then they meet this old prospector guy named Rasmus. He's got this huge beard. You can barely see his face. And he kind of helps them out. He starts helping them. So the posse's right on them, right in their back door. They're ready to take Mickey and Minnie. They show up. Look at Mickey here. He kicks this guy. Well, I'm sure it's in the shin, but you could imagine he's kicking him in the nuts. Grabs the sheriff's gun, and then with two guns, one gun in each hand. Look at him, looking all pissed off. He's like the Punisher there. He's a tough little guy, Mickey, back in the old days. So they get the upper hand. Mickey says, okay, I'm going to ride off. And Rasmus, you stay here with Minnie and keep an eye on these bad guys. They overtake Rasmus, though. He's an old guy. They jump him, take his gun. Just really fun action going on here. You can totally picture this as a cartoon. So Mickey falls in a river. I guess are there rivers in Death Valley? I thought it was a really bleak desert. I don't know. It probably is. And he's in this bucket. The bad guys are chasing. Well, the posse and the bad guys are chasing him. They can't get down though. This river is deep in a canyon, so they're just following the course of the river. Mickey feels like he's home free, but then there's a waterfall coming up. So meanwhile, the sheriff puts Minnie in jail and basically says, "You better tell us where your boyfriend is. We're not going to feed you until you tell us." This is actually quite a fun sequence when he's struggling to not fall down the waterfall. Him and his horse doing all these various. Once again, this is just totally picture this as an animated cartoon. How fun this would be! It's fun as hell as a comic strip, but it's very animated the way it's drawn, where you could picture it as a cartoon. It's a pretty fun, thrilling sequence. And then, we keep going back between the jail. The fox shows up again, and he brings food for Minnie, and he says, "Hold tight, Toots. Be patient. Mickey's gonna take care of this." So this goes on for a while. All these gags. I'm trying not to get into the nitty gritty of all these strips because it's a lot of strips, and I don't want this video to be 3 hours long. So I'm kind of glossing over. I just want to show you the art mainly because that's the main reason I like these. It's just like beautiful cartooning. I do like Mickey's horse. He's so weirdly drawn. It barely looks like a horse. So Mickey finds the mine, the Mortimer Mining Company. That's the name of Minnie's uncle, who supposedly passed away, Mortimer Mouse. And unfortunately, Peg-Leg Pete's right on his tail, and he attacks him. We got a nice little fight scene. Yeah. And now the fox shows up at the jail again. And he tells Minnie that Mickey has found the mine and the fox is going to take her to the mine to see Mickey and be reunited. I just took my shirt off and I was talking into the shirt, so I don't know if you could hear that last word. It's very warm now. So, where are we? So, the fox shows up. The villains are all there, Mickey. The fox shows up, he takes off his cloak, and he's Rasmus, the old prospector. But then he takes off that disguise. Turns out it's Mortimer Mouse. He's been alive the whole time. He was basically testing Sylvester Shyster. So the mine is a fake. There's no gold in there. This whole thing was just a test, Sylvester, and obviously Sylvester failed that test. And then they fly off in Mortimer's plane. He's very wealthy, incredibly wealthy. And they land back in Mouseville or Mouseton, wherever they call they're from. And once again, it ends with this: a pig runs in Mickey and Minnie's path, and they all trip and fall on their butts. That's the joke of that daily strip. Next, we have Mr. Slicker and the Egg Robbers. Plus, short stories, Mickey Mouse music, The Picnic, and Traffic Troubles. September 22nd, 1930 to January 17th, 1931. Little introduction. Ah, God, I love this little guy. He just falls and he's just smiling at the audience. He's so fucking happy all the time. So I do notice that once an adventure peters out or begins, it kind of turns to gag-a-day. It's almost like they give themselves a little break before the next story really kicks in. So these are all just goofy gags about farm animals and living in the farm. So this plot starts off with Mickey hoping to make some money by opening a miniature golf course. I guess that was a craze in 1931 or 1930. And just lots of gags about that. All the zany golf traps he makes for it, or whatever you call that in a miniature golf. They're all kind of low rent. In fact, he uses barnyard animals for the golf, whatever, the thing that makes miniature golf tricky. And this guy shows up. And this is, what's his face? Wait, what's his name again? I remember so fucking bad. I'm sorry, guys. Mr. Slicker. And I thought this was funny. As soon as I saw Mr. Slicker, he's got obviously a different face than Mickey. He looks like Robert Armstrong's Mickey Rat, which is a parody of Mickey Mouse from the Underground Comics days. And he kind of looks just like him. So it's kind of funny. So Slicker shows up and instantly seems to take a liking to Minnie. And Minnie kind of thinks he's pretty something else too, because he is like charming and he's kind of very alpha male, like he's yelling at the waiter. This asshole is winking at Minnie, and when Mickey goes over to like teach him a lesson, he just bumps him on the head. But Mr. Slicker throws a pie at his face and knocks him out. So Minnie's like, oh. So Mickey's just like, hey, this guy's muscling in on my babe. And he really is. He goes to visit Minnie with flowers, actually steals Mickey's flowers and gives them to Minnie. And Minnie seems to be charmed. There's Horse Collar again. So Mickey's really bummed. Hey guys, this is showing you how different Mickey was when he started. Oh my God, so Mickey's so bummed, he decides to commit suicide. He tries to shoot himself with a shotgun. He tries to jump off a bridge. Of course, it's always foiled. His plans are always foiled in a comic fashion. It's just crazy. He tries to drown himself in the river. And then he's going to hang himself, and all these cute squirrels come out and like just are really sweet, nice to him. So he's like, okay. You guys have convinced me. I got to stop trying to kill myself. So that little weird sequence is over. Meanwhile, we see Mr. Slicker visiting Minnie at her parents' house. She lives with her parents, little country bumpkin parents. And I guess there's a dilemma going on in the Minnie Mouse household there, where the crops have been failing. The only income the mother and father have are their eggs, selling eggs. But the hens haven't been laying. Turns out the hens have been laying, but somebody's been stealing all their eggs. So he's really in a bind. He's going to lose his house, the father. And nobody knows who's stealing these eggs. So Mr. Slicker makes Minnie's father, a proposition, basically. He's he's a big city guy. Apparently he's got money. He says, well, if I was your son-in-law, if you gave me your blessing for marriage, I would certainly loan you the money as my father-in-law, as your son-in-law, I should say. And so basically he's coercing Minnie into marrying him. I thought this thing was interesting where the father is actually picturing cruel fate because he keeps getting robbed. It's like fate's against him. And this is just personally interesting to me because when I was a teenager, when I was really like a sad sack, whiny pants, I used to picture fate as a persona. I personified him. And it's not like I was that suicidal as a youngster, but a lot of teenagers, you're depressed as hell. You're hormonal, and you might think about it like, oh, maybe if I kill myself, whatever, my parents would, wouldn't take me for granted or something like, stupid shit like that. But I never did think those thoughts because I didn't want to give fate the satisfaction. He was just this asshole who loved when I failed and never wanted me to succeed. So I figure if I kill myself, he wins. So just a little weird thing about my growing up, the way I think. It's a crazy thought, very narcissistic to think that fate has it in just for me. But it did keep me, it was a good mental construct to keep me from ever contemplating suicide seriously. Because I wasn't going to let that fucker have the satisfaction. So getting back to the story, sorry about that. So it looks like Minnie's going to marry this guy to save her father's farm. So Mickey sees the egg thieves. But then he is in the barn. The father comes in, and now everyone thinks Mickey is the egg thief. So Mickey has to go on the lam. Around this time, Minnie is definitely soured on Mr. Slicker. She doesn't like him, but she's going to marry him to save her father. And her mother, sorry. I like this woodland scene here. It's almost like Walt Kelly. So once again, there's many gags, but the story does progress. So now Slicker goes out to this cabin in the woods, and he's got a whole gang of no-good nicks. They're the egg thieves. Now, they don't know what Mickey looks like. So Mickey actually shows up in the cabin after Mr. Slicker leaves. And he says, oh, guys, it's raining out there. Can I stay with you guys? I'll do all the chores and whatever. And they do. They take pity on him. And it's mainly this guy, Butch. And, they make him clean all the dishes and cook. And it seems like Butch is really warming up to Mickey. It's almost like he has this mothering instinct for Mickey. Now, Butch is incredibly strong and incredibly dumb. But tough as a motherfucker. And yet he's got this little soft heart. Especially when it comes to Mickey. Now, the reason I'm talking about Butch so much is because I guess Butch, I don't know much of Mickey Mouse history. But Butch is, I think, he was Mickey Mouse's friend for decades. I think there still might be Butch stories coming out in Italy and stuff like that. So Minnie's crying, wondering where Mickey is. She's sad she has to marry this Slicker guy. And the big day comes. More of this, just so pleasing to my eye. All of this, the line work, the Susian trees. So, of course, Mickey's going to stop the wedding. This time, Mickey puts on a woman's dress and has a little a baby carriage with he couldn't find a baby, so there's a parrot with a baby's bonnet on. And he says, stop this marriage. He's already married to me. And he's the father of my child. Mickey is unmasked. But then Butch shows up. And Butch kind of squeals. He says, yeah, this guy's my boss. He's the egg robber. And he's like, you moron. You're going to go to jail too. You were part of the gang. He's like, well, I don't care. I didn't want to see that Mickey take the fall. So it's like weird how much Butch has such a fondness for Mickey. So Mickey is clear. His name is cleared. And everything's right again. I love this little Scotty dog, the way he draws him. We'll see him again. So now that the main adventure's over, we're kind of going back to Gag-A-Day. I love these cute little cars and just how crazy they drive. They like fly along the road. So this is almost like a prototype for Pluto. This is Minnie's dog. But pretty much all the gags that Pluto would have, he has. Because he's a big dumb mutt, you know? Yeah, so pretty much just getting gags a day here. And that's the end of that one. Mickey Mouse vs. Catnip, January 19th, 1931 to February 25th. Now, Catnip is a major villain for Mickey Mouse introduction. And so one day Mickey's walking around his town, and all of a sudden he sees this shack he never saw before. And there's a bunch of goofy gags of him trying to find out who's inside. There's a sign that says, danger. This is the home of Catnip, the toughest guy in the tri-state area. And this is a weird one here. This guy, kind of mean-looking tomcat, leaves the shack. And he says, are you the gentleman who lives here? And then the guy gets very mincing and like very effeminate. He says, whoops, no, I'm reading this verbatim. I'm just the baker's boy who brings goodies to Mr. Nip. So he has this lisp. And in the introduction, it says something about this was a thing back then. Maybe like baker's boy was a euphemism for gay men. Just really odd little sequence. And then Mickey Mouse kicks him in the butt. And that's the last we ever see of this guy. Crazy. So finally he meets Catnip. This guy. So scrappy, tough-looking motherfucker. And now this is a weird story where it just becomes this huge rivalry between Mickey Mouse and Catnip. How many knots they can put in each other's tails. It's almost like this. I almost got this weird, I don't know, BDSM master servant kinky thing going on here. Because Mickey keeps going back and Catnip keeps nodding his tail. But then finally, I jumped the gun. Finally, Mickey discovers this catnip, actual catnip, Nipata Cataria. That's Latin for catnip. And they make it obviously seem like it's booze. We see this moonshiner making it out in the woods. He gives Mickey a jug of it, or he sells it to him. And now Mickey's got the upper hand because Catnip is a catnip addict. And so every time he's wasted, Mickey sneaks up to him and puts a knot in his tail. But for some reason, it keeps straightening out. Mickey's bamboozled. It's a very odd strip. It's kind of like, just typical cartoons like Tom and Jerry. Just these two guys playing pranks on each other. Man, that's a totally off-model Mickey Mouse. It's like Rick Griffin drew him or something. So then it turns out he has a roommate named Barnacle Bill the Sailor. He's the one who's been untying his tail. It's just very odd. Very odd humor going on here. So back and forth, back and forth. That's all these strips are, really. Lots of humor about Mickey's tail. God, so simple. I just love looking at it. Here's the in 1938, Catnip came back. So I misspoke. Catnip isn't a long-running antagonist to Mickey Mouse, but he did come back once. Next we have Mickey Mouse, boxing champion and high society, February 26, 1931 to May 30th, 1931. Introduction. And so Mickey's got this buddy, and what's his name here? I'll find it soon enough. I think his name's like, I don't know, Roughhouse Ralph or something. And he's a boxer. He's the heavyweight or some kind of champion, but he hasn't boxed in years, just nobody's challenged him. So he's totally out of shape. He's lazy as hell. And Mickey decides to become his trainer and help him train. This guy kind of looks like a Mickey Rat, too. Kind of a seedy version of Mickey Mouse. So I liked how this guy, he exercises. He has this Rube Goldberg-like machine that does the exercising for him. Like lifts his arms up. Because he loves to read Shakespeare all the time. So he just wants to sit there reading. And doesn't really want to exercise. But Mickey's like, you got to. So poor Mickey's got this thankless job of, all this guy wants to do is get out of training and eat a lot of food. And Mickey's got to whip him into shape. I like it when Mickey's angry, that look on his face. So lots of gags about Mickey trying to train this guy. And this guy pulling shenanigans to get out of it. Some really nice looking stuff. So apparently a new champion's come to town. And, yeah, sorry, this guy's named Roughhouse Rat, by the way. And he looks like he's a pretty shitty boxer. He looks terrible from what we see of his prowess. He's pretty bad. But this champion comes to town, and he's another story entirely. Rumors are out about this guy, and this guy is just a monster. He's like the Incredible Hulk. I mean, he's superhuman. There's some more of that great car stuff going on where the cars are flying off the road. So Mickey goes to scope out the competition because he wants to challenge the champ, Roughhouse Rat. Mickey goes to his training camp and he's just doing insane shit. Skipping rope with two giant, cobra snakes, wrestling with lions. And meanwhile, Roughhouse Rat is just eating bonbons and reading, barely exercising. Yeah, let me see this guy. His name's Cremo Catanera. That's the name of this mean-ass boxer. I think there was a boxer at the time whose name sounded like that. That's why he's got such an odd name. So the match is coming up. The whole time, Roughhouse Rat is just dicking around. And Mickey's always like, you got to come down and see this guy. He's like, nah, I don't feel like it. God, the cartoon is getting even better. This looks so great. So it's the day of the weigh-in. I guess it's the day before the fight or the day of the fight. And Roughhouse finally sees Cremo. And he just leaps out a window and catches the first train out of town. He's terrified. Meanwhile, the town might lynch Mickey Mouse because he promised them this fight. He promoted it. And if there's no fight, everyone's just going to kill him. So Mickey says, okay, I guess I'll do it. I'll either get hung or I'll die in the ring. So, Mickey's this tiny little guy. He's not much of a boxer. So the whole fight, he's basically just running away. I gotta say, this sequence I really got into. I was really on tenterhooks. I was like, oh, what's gonna happen to Mickey? This is a really fun sequence, this boxing match. It goes on for days and days and weeks, I guess, of continuity. So, of course, there's lots of goofy slapstick going on. Meanwhile, in prison, we see Butch again. And Butch is listening to the boxing match. He's very worried about his pal Mickey. And then he's so worried that he says, fuck this. And he escapes from jail. And he runs down to the arena. Meanwhile, Mickey's doesn't have a chance in hell. But all of a sudden, in the sixth round, Cremo dives from Mickey, falls out into the audience, and when he crawls back into the ring, he can barely stand. It's almost like he's out on his feet. And he looks over, it's Butch. Butch clobbered him. Because Butch is preternaturally strong as well. He's almost like a superhero, how strong he is and tough. So Mickey just basically has to clock him once with his glove and he falls down. I like this, how he has to actually use the referee's body as a trampoline. He can't even reach his chin. So he knocks him out. The ref is doing the countdown. But it says, hey, what's the big deal? I'm awake. Stop the count. He's like, well, get off your back. He's like, I can't move. I'm paralyzed. It turns out it's Butch holding his tail through a hole in the floor of the ring. Butch is revealed. But I guess they still let Mickey win anyway. For some reason, he's not disqualified. And now Mickey is rich. And he's kind of famous. I guess there was a lot of money for this fight. Then we have this kind of side story where Mickey goes to the jail and says, listen, he's really sorry about breaking out. Please release him in my custody. I'll turn him into a gentleman. And they agree. They're like, sure. Now we get a lot of gags of just how dumb Butch is and how not genteel he is. And Mickey's trying to turn him into a little gentleman, trying to make him dress better, teach him table manners. Kind of funny stuff. I really like Butch's character. Because he's a bad mamma jamma, but he's got a soft heart. He's a softie. So this goes on and on for weeks, all these gags about Butch trying to fit in with high society. It's almost like, a Marx Brothers comedy where it's just all these rich swells are like, oh my, how uncouth. And, Butch does something stupid or vulgar. They're kind of fun, though. They had this weird promotion for a couple of weeks where I guess you could send away for a quote-unquote photo of Mickey Mouse and Butch. Apparently, way more people responded than they thought. And they never did it again because they were like, that was a lot of work. They had to send out 20,000 of these things. And here it is. By Gottfredson. So as you can see, he just made it look kind of like a photo by drawing Mickey more realistically and, using nice shading and everything. Next, we have Circus Roustabout and Pluto the Pup, June 1st, 1931 to July 18th. Introduction. And as you can imagine, in this one, Mickey joins the circus. And Butch does, too. And, of course, this just leaves us lots of fodder for jokes and punchlines and hijinks. All these crazy zoo animals. Mickey tries many jobs at the circus. This elephant's kind of interesting. He looks just like Horton from Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss. I'm pretty sure Horton wasn't around then in 1931, but Dr. Seuss was drawing in that style. So it's interesting. I'm not sure who influenced who. So there's a story about there's this bareback horse rider. She's French. She's this cute little cat-like girl, and she's kind of sweet on Mickey. And Mickey likes her too, but not. He still loves Minnie. Somebody's been fucking with her act. And it turns out, we find out it's the human skeleton who is disgruntled. Feels like he hasn't been appreciated by the ringmaster. And so he's been trying to get the circus back. Because the bareback rider is one of the star attractions of the show. She's very cute, the way they draw her. Yeah, I wish I could remember her name. Oh, Mademoiselle Maltese is her name. It's kind of an interesting texture here for the mud. Interesting inking. There's totally looks like Horton, doesn't he? So, like I said, lots of crazy, funny stuff going on. Even though not many of the jokes are that funny. And now we're introduced to Pluto. Mickey takes in Pluto, and now we get gag after gag of how dumb Pluto is, and he screws everything up all the time. His talk is terrible. He's a horror show. Mickey Mouse and the Ransom Plot, July 20th, 1931 to November 7th of that year. So this is a little introduction again. And this story starts off when Horsecollar and Henrietta, I guess they've been palling around. And they say, hey, we were planning a vacation. And we want you and Minnie to come. It would be fun to have all four of us go on this trip together. And I guess they're going to go to the mountains. Of course, it's not that simple. It's lots of gags before we ever get in the car to go to the mountains. Yep, still haven't left. They're really milking this concept. So off they go. Of course, lots of jokes about how they're taking too much. The car is just comically overloaded. The trip there, of course, has many perils. This car takes a major beating and it just keeps going. Some more just good-looking strips here. I mean, pretty much all of these are to be. So they make it up to the campsite. And there are lots of gags about camping. They decide to cross the lake in this little flotilla. So now we have a lot of gags about that. A lot of slapstick humor. Some bears come to the campsite in the middle of the night. Mickey says, music soothes the savage beast. And when he starts playing the music, the bears start dancing like humans. And the reason why is because they're owned by this gypsy guy. Trained gypsy bears. So apparently there's a camp nearby. Now the leader of the camp is the queen. Interesting here, there's some swastika motifs, which the editor comments on. Yeah, this is before Hitler even started using them, I think, 1931. But that was like, it meant peace or harmony or something in ancient cultures. It's still weird seeing him, especially considering that Walt Disney, there's rumors that he was kind of chummy with Hitler. And there's letters back and forth between the two. So most of this isn't much of a plot. It's just kind of gaggy. Lots of gags. But one develops finally. The queen keeps coming around to the camp, selling Clarabelle trinkets, reading her palm, and she invites them to their camp. Everyone finds it exciting, the dancing, the guitar playing. But then Clarabelle, being the blabbermouth that she is, reveals to the queen that Minnie is the heiress to the Mortimer Mouse fortune. So now we finally get a plot. And as you can imagine, what this plot entails is the queen lures Minnie away from their camp, and she basically kidnaps her and her family. It's a really spooky tree. They deliver a ransom note to Horsecollar and Mickey and Clarabelle, and so they go off to rescue her. They go to the gypsy camp, and the queen denies it. She says, "Oh, we haven't seen Minnie," but she obviously has her. And here we see her tied up. I don't know why I thought this panel was very interesting. This weird faded outline of a pine tree. I almost want to just make a t-shirt design of that while out in the dark woods. So once again, lots of crazy slapstick humor as they try to rescue Minnie. First, Pluto does. Pluto finds the gypsies first in this old barn or whatever, and they tie him up. So now he's a hostage. So they're going to kill Minnie between these two grindstones. Oh, I'm sorry, it's an old mill. Mickey saws the wheel off, the water wheel, and which basically stops the millstones from crushing Minnie. Mickey beats the crap out of these gypsy guys with the help of Horsecollar Fats. Horsecollar jumps in to the fray. Some really fun kind of zany action going on. So Mickey, Minnie, Pluto escape in this barrel, and meanwhile Horsecollar wasn't in that fight. He was still riding this log makeshift canoe. He's been trying to get to our heroes. Now they reunite. Horsecollar finds them. Yeah, then he helps them kick ass. And they're all beating the crap out of these guys. But they rescued Minnie successfully. And then they go back home to Mouseville or wherever. And have a few gags. Next we have Fireman Mickey and Clarabelle's boarding house. November 9th, 1931 to January 9th, 1932. Introduction. And so Mickey's a fireman now. He's this old fire chief, this old codger here. Pop Weasel. So this just gives us a lot of chance to have fireman gags. Mickey just does a lot of odd jobs. He's a gig worker. So Mickey gets into his head that Horsecollar and Clarabelle should be lovers. That sounded weird. Just be, in a relationship. So he wants to play Cupid. And it's kind of weird for Mickey to be this dumb, where he hears about Cupid, and he actually gets a bow and arrow, and he's planning to shoot Horsecollar and Clarabelle. Look at this, totally looks like the Tunerville trolley. So, I guess he stops with the bow and arrow, and then he just puts a worm in Horsecollar's ear. It's like, hey, what about Clarabelle? Minnie does the same thing to Clarabelle. Oh, I'm sorry, Mickey does. So Mickey's just playing them both. And it turns out they do really like each other. They've just been too shy. Meanwhile, there's lots of fire antics. Oh, this is actually, I think Clarabelle's house burns down. And so now it looks like Mickey's plan has worked. Horse Collar and Henrietta seem pretty thrilled with each other. And it looks like they're going to be engaged. Now, Clarabelle needs a place to stay. I guess she has some money tucked away. So she's like, I've always wanted to have a boarding house. So I need to find just the right kind of house. You know, it's going to have a lot of rooms. So now we have a bunch of house hunting gags. Clarabelle looking for her new house. Well, their new house, because they're going to be married. And they finally buy one. Lots of gags about decorating the house. And Mickey's very inept. So it's just more of the same. So now the boarding house is up and running, and now we get lots of boarding house gags, all the random funny boarders. This guy is just a big fat pig, Samuel J. Snout. I can call him a big fat pig because I am one. So and he's eating around our house and home. And of course he's got that little Scottish terrier comes back. He's a musician who plays like. He's a one-man band, so of course that's another thing. This panel is very interesting to me. It looks like a completely different artist just stepped in. Like someone from, I don't know, The New Yorker. Or really interesting panel. The lines are very thin. It doesn't really spot the blacks. Just totally looks different. So all these goofy random borders, just a bunch of gags really. No adventure in this one. Now we get the Gottfredson Archives, essays and special features. And man, this is some great stuff. I mean, they really did their research. In the beginning of eWorks and the birth of Mickey Mouse. So they're not just talking about, Floyd Gottfredson. This is chronicling the whole history of Mickey Mouse from his first cartoon, and beyond. This is really interesting. I guess this was lost for decades. I think they found it in the 70s or the 80s. The very first drawings of iWorks did of Mickey Mouse. We can see him working out different costumes. Kind of fascinating. I'm not even that big into Disney stuff. But this is just like a Rosetta Stone, It's pretty amazing. And there's Minnie, which is basically just Mickey with a dress on and eyelashes. iWorks, if you don't know, he is probably more... Walt Disney had the idea of like, hey, we should have a mouse character, but it was all up eWorks. He's almost like the Jack Kirby to Disney Stan Lee. Here's some of the early cartoon strips that influenced up iWorks. Clifton Meek and this other guy. Oh no, this is all Clifton Meek, just two different styles he had. See, this is Walt Disney. This is how he drew. So Mickey Mouse would look like this if he didn't have iWorks around. Here's a little ad drawn by iWorks. I'm probably butchering his name. iWorks? I don't know. They found all these like crazy old ads in newspapers, all these yellowed newspapers. Next we have Starting the Strip by David Gerstein. Really interesting. Talking about how, King Features called him up. Said, we really want to strip. Walt and Ub just didn't have the time. They were so busy making cartoons, so for months, it just they didn't really work on it. Finally, though, they got off their asses and they got it going, which is good. Here's some more of those ad templates for newspapers. A lot of these. I think Ub did most of these. I really like this. They show the foreign editions of Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse, within a year of his first cartoon, was already an international sensation. So we see the Mexican version, Paquito, the French version, Les Aventures de Mickey, and Topolino, which is the Italian. That's what they call Mickey Mouse. And look how much better this is than all these ones. These are like nephew art. These are just like hacks who are like, okay, just we'll draw Mickey Mouse. That is some really fun looking stuff. The colors, everything. That looks really good. This is really great now. So now we go back because they wanted to, give us the whole story. These are the very first Mickey Mouse strips before there was continuity. I think there's like a month worth, maybe more. And a lot of these strips, written by Walt Disney, drawn by Works, were based on the cartoons. So this first one is based on Mickey's first cartoon, Plane Crazy, where he's idolizing Charles Lindbergh. We see a little caricature of him there. Mickey builds this really rickety makeshift airplane out of cast-off equipment. And so we just get a lot of gags about him trying to fly this plane, crashing a lot. And look at this rain here. I like the way that's drawn. I know this almost reminds me of manga here. Some manga artist. He takes Minnie for a ride. She uses her bloomers as a parachute. Apparently that was used in a cartoon years later, that gag. It's pretty scary. Mickey finds his chest in a cave, and there's a skeleton, reaches out and grabs him. So I forgot to mention, Mickey is now in Africa. He's flown all the way to Africa. So now we get lots of jokes about goofy, animals, exotic foreign animals. I gotta say, I really like Works stuff. His cartooning is wonderful. It might be better than everything we've seen in this book. This is just pure, amazing, simple cartooning to me. Like, it just looks so good. Here's that gag. This was used in a cartoon. Mickey lures the lion to jump into an alligator's mouth, then uses the lion's tail to shut the mouth up, to bind it. I just like the way he draws all these crazy animals. It's really fun. So lots of hijinks, lots of slapstick humor in Africa. And then, of course, it's 1931, so we're going to have some horrible racist depiction of cannibals, of African cannibals. They capture Mickey. They're going to put him in a pot. Mickey finally figures out what's going on. He thinks he's an honored guest, but he realizes, no, I'm the meal. So he runs away. The cannibals are chasing after Mickey. Lots of goofy gags. It's almost like a Roadrunner cartoon. I like this hippo here. Yeah, I wish Works could have continued these strips. I mean, the animation department needed him. He was like a one-man animation department, but these look great to me. There's lots of gags with these cannibals chasing Mickey. Mickey getting the best of them. That little tiger, too. I'm really glad they included these. Because this series is mainly about Gottfredson. That's the focus of the series, but I love this back material. Putting in stuff like this really puts it in context. Mickey gets adopted by this bird family, a lot of gags. That's like 2 weeks of gags, maybe 3. He's singing in the rain again. And finally he makes it home to America. And it says, and he's reunited with Minnie. And they smooch. Here's the last one. Just ends with a dumb gag. showing some of the cell animation. Like I was saying, there's the gag that was in the comic strip, or vice versa. The comic strip stole the gag from a cartoon. This is interesting. The Italian artist, I guess the Italian editor of Mickey Mouse, didn't like the fact that Mickey walked home from Africa to America. Because you see him walk away and then he's in America. So he had the Italian artist, I believe this is, does it tell us who this is? This is Giorgio Scudellari. And they had a little 3 strips just to explain how Mickey got picked up by a bird and who flew him across the Atlantic. So there you go. Maybe this guy took his editing job a little too seriously for Mickey Mouse. I don't think any kid gave a shit. They cast Mickey and Minnie. Just tells us about their character. Sharing the spotlight. These are great. They give us little vignettes of all these little inkers and pencilers. Win Smith, showing some of their other work. That's really nice. Here's a publicity drawing Win did in the 1930. Here's some more foreign editions. There's Topolino again. Yeah, but it's weird how the Italian covers are just so much better. And you know, like France loves comics so much, and bande dessinée, their comics look like shit. They look pretty bad. We have an article about Uncloaking the Fox by David Gerstein, talking about the precedent for that kind of character, you know, the cloaked, shadowy figure. This is really amazing that they found Floyd Gottfredson pencils from back then. They found some of these pencil strips. They're missing panels. I just can't believe this stuff is still around. So, you know, once again, kudos to Fantagraphics for putting all this super rare stuff in. So we see more of it here, comparing and contrasting the penciled and inked strip, the same one. More foreign editions, Topolino once again. French edition once again. This one, I don't know why they show this one, because this is from like 1983. Way later. I guess it's because Mr. Slicker's in it. So these all reprinted that Mr. Slicker story. Sharing the spotlight, Roy Nelson. He's a pretty good cartoonist. He, you know, ended up working for like Esquire. As you could tell by looking at this. It looks very Esquire-y. I like this Jack King little bio here. He did this these caricatures of everyone at the Disney studio at the time. So these are really nice. I can imagine if you were like a Disney maniac, this would be just amazing. Getting to see everyone at the office. All these famous characters in animation history. Hardy Gramatke. Another one of the inkers. This is the one time the German foreign licensees of Mickey Mouse, I guess they had a special event, and they were like, hey, could we make 2 Mickey strips ourselves that talk about this event? And Disney said, sure. So, super rare. These have just appeared in this German magazine once. And this is about the Mickey Mouse coloring book, which all these artists worked on. Floyd Gottfredson included. Those fucking weird looking kids. I guess coloring books back then, they would have colored pages to give kids an idea of what to do and how to color. They're quite nice, actually. And now we see some of the coloring book images. Gottfredson's World of Mickey Mouse and Catnip. Here's this guy's named, God, what a name, Guglielmo Guastaveglia. He was the first Italian cartoonist to create original Disney comics. Interesting, though, they still have that European style at the time, you know, like English comics where it's just a panel and a little verse. That's what most kids' comics were like, except in America. We had the word balloons. So it's interesting that they knew people love Mickey Mouse strips, but they still did this antiquated style. Excuse me, I gotta get some water. Give me a sec. More foreign editions. This Topolino, not nearly as good. You know what I should tell? I gotta... That first two Topolinos that look so good to me. They almost look like cool underground comics. I just want to get the names of those guys out there. Because they should be known. Sorry about this. Hopefully this just take a second. Where's that Topolino? Okay. Oh, Michelle Rubino. It seems like Michelle Rubino does a lot of these great Topolino covers. It does this one as well, even though this one's not nearly as good. Okay, next we have another Sharing the Spotlight, Earl Duvall, another inker. He did a lot of those Bucky Bugs strips. Now we have more about the cast. Here's Butch. Butch went on to be a Mickey friend all the way up till the 2000s. Till now, I think. Al Taliaferro, who went on to be a very prominent cartoonist within the Disney ranks. The Gottfredson gang in their own words. This is Confessions of Mickey Mouse. This is very odd here. It's some newspaper did this like goofy fake interview with Mickey Mouse, pretending, you know, he's like a real Hollywood star. Oh, here's just some press, print tie-ins, you know, advertising for Mickey Mouse. So this getting back to this fake interview, it's kind of written for adults. Like they're making jokes that are like, you know, like kind of I don't know, a kid wouldn't really get it. Illustrated by Floyd Gottfredson, as well as this. This is The World's Dumbest Actor, Pluto the Pup. This is another like fake interview, fake profile from this magazine. More foreign editions, all Topolino this time. And I believe... Are these Michelle Rubino? Yep. It looks like all of them. Oh, this one's Antonio Rubino. And then some more of these American Big Little books. A French edition. Man, these are just shoddy looking. They just got, that's pure nephew art. They just got some hack to do those. This is interesting. This is a strip, just a one-off. Gottfredson did it for Film Weekly. Man, look at this. How this is rare. And you can barely read it. It's like so muddied and degenerated. This is a Christmas card Floyd Gottfredson drew. Man, look at just the graphic design of this. The lettering, coloring. That's fucking gorgeous. I wish I could get that Christmas card this year. And then we have About the Editor and papers. And that's it for Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse by Floyd Gottfredson, Volume 1, Race to Death Valley. Hope you guys like looking at it. Sorry it was so long, but there was a lot of strips to look at in here. And like I said earlier, I don't expect everyone to like this stuff. It's, I don't know why I do so much. Because it's, I gotta say, you know, whenever you read a book that collects daily comic strips, those were meant to be read one a day. Even the best comic strips, when you read like a big chunk of them, it starts to get repetitive. Halfway through this book, I was just like, oh man, I can't wait for this to be done. Just all these goofy gags over and over. But the art just kept me loving it. Just my eyeballs love these comics. My brain didn't necessarily love the stories. But I don't know, if you like this art as much as me, it's worth to have, because I just love looking at this stuff. But yeah, it's not the best stories. Interesting that I just, a couple of years ago, finally read Karl Marx, Uncle Scrooge. And that is so different to me. When I first read those, I was just like, man, I want these all. This is the most clever, fun writing. Everything about it's great. This is like, I don't even know if I need any other edition. I'm pretty content with this as an example of this great cartooning. But of course, if I found them cheap, sure, I'll probably buy them. But it's not like I have this hunger like when I discovered Karl Barks, where I want to read everything that guy's ever done. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on the subject. Hope you guys like looking at this with me, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.